No, but oh no, we're live the wrong way.
Have we gone live?
Yeah, and we're live the hey! Okay, we're live the right way now. Okay, we'll have to just like crop that out from
the YouTube.
From the YouTube.
Oh no, it's
I think we should leave
part
it.
of the charm. Yeah.
Okay. Hey guys.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Marx Library Live. I don't even know what week it is.
We're right at
Seven?
we're almost. I think 7 weeks.
Yeah.
Because we're almost up at midterms, right?
Right.
Get excited, guys. Okay, so what are we talking about today?
So today we're going to talk about how to develop a topic to make it easier to do your research.
Right. So we've talked. Oh, we should probably tell you who we are. Though.
Oh yeah. We
Okay.
just jumped right into it.
I know, we were like, do it. Okay, I'm Beth and Stephanie. I'm the Arts and Humanities Librarian at the Marx Library at the University of South Alabama.
And I'm Stephanie Eversart. I am the Social Sciences Librarian at the Marx Library at the University of South Alabama.
Okay, so to give you guys a little context about what we're going to talk about today, which Stephanie already told you, a little context for this is we have talked about what makes a good topic and what makes a bad topic, right, before. But we kind of did it in the context of like a English kind of composition type topic, right? Like,
and we didn't really frame it as how having a good topic will make research easier.
right, like we just said, like, you need a good topic and these are the reasons why, and this is what makes a good topic. But we've gotten kind of the point in the semester where we've seen, Stephanie and I, between us, have seen a bunch of students in classes, hundreds of topics by this point. And we thought, because this would be good to do, because we do this with every single class that we see pretty much. And so it doesn't matter if it is a 200 level course or a 400 level or a graduate. Like, we're doing the same thing. So obviously something is happening somewhere where y'all are not
People in general
are not refining topics or understand how to refine a topic.
So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how to take a broad, general, vague, amorphous topic and turn it into something very specific that you can then use to do research and make it a whole lot easier to write your paper.
Right, and so I think before we actually get started, I'm just going to touch on something you said, which is that refining a topic, I think students think it's the opposite is true, that like a broader topic makes for an easier process, both in research and writing.
I'm going to find more stuff.
Right.
I've got to fill up I got to write 800 words.
Or 15 pages. Are you kidding me? Let me make it as broad as possible, and that's going to save me like concern about finding stuff and writing.
Filling up pages,
Yeah, and in my experience, and I think in every librarian or professor's experience, the opposite is true.
It's definitely true. I hear students, like, when we get to a more specific topic, they'll say, am I going to have enough to write about?
Oh, and I'm like, oh my, yes. You're
like,
going to have plenty to write about. And I like to use this kind of example in class. I'm like, okay, let's just look for your really broad topic. And then they're like, there's nothing on it. And I'm like, okay, let's look for a narrowed topic. And they're like, oh. And I'm like, oh, okay, see how that happens? Like, things get better when you narrow.
Right.
So we're going to talk about how to take a topic, and make it a workable, manageable topic.
Yes.
Okay.
So maybe we should talk a little bit about the kinds of things that students start with, and we can like.
Yeah. So we're laughing, but it's totally fine to start with a big topic because that's kind of where your brain is.
Right. So maybe we ask you what you want to write about, and you say something like
the internet.
Right. The internet. Okay.
All of it.
So all of it, everything.
And so then we go like, okay, and then we ask you that question probably, like,
what about the internet?
What about the internet? And you come back with something like,
well, social media.
You won't even probably go that good.
No, not even that.
You probably say,
oh, right.
How it affects people.
I'm automatically narrowing.
I know you're bad at this. She's bad at she's really good at narrowing. So we get back things like, well, I want to know how the internet affects people.
Or what are some problems with the internet?
Yeah. And we're like, okay.
All right. So
can you see how this question is so big that we have multiple avenues for narrowing this topic, right?
Right. So when you talk about the internet, I mean, you're talking about all kinds of things. Are you talking about social media,
like you mentioned?
Are you talking about advertisements? Are you talking about selling stuff? Are you talking about freedom of speech?
Are you talking about email? Because that's technically the interwebs.
Right.
Right?
Are you talking about personal websites? Are you talking about job hunting? You're like,
Pinterest? What are we talking
about? You can go on forever.
Right. So we're like, okay, first off, the internet, the interwebs is big.
Right.
Narrow it, right? Cat videos, what are we talking about? So that's a good place to narrow, right? And then, okay, so this is something that I always stress. What does something like effects actually even mean?
Yeah, so when you say, and that's going to show up early in a topic. You're going to say, how does this affect?
Because you're thinking, right?
Or what are the consequences? Or...
Okay, and so Stephanie, this is kind of my method for getting students to get out of the effects thing. So where you are, I'm like, well, what do you imagine the hypothesis to be? Like, how do you imagine that social media affects people?
Right. I usually ask, what effect do you see happening?
Yeah. You have to have an idea, or you wouldn't be asking the question, right?
What effect are you worried about?
Right. So social media, for example, right? Like, let's say the student's like, I think that social media is bad for romantic relationships.
Okay, we're getting better. So
there's a hypothesis.
We have.
So we have the social media,
right?
I mean, you could probably even narrow that even further, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could look at a particular platform, like you look at Snapchat, Instagram, whatever
the cool kids are using,
whatever kids use,
whatever you cool kids are using these days.
MySpace.
Definitely.
I had a student. Jokingly, I guess thinking I was fantastically old, asking me about my MySpace. Thanks.
You're like, whatever. My space is active. Okay, so there's that, right? There's okay, so you could narrow by like platform.
You could look at the way that social media is used. Like, are you talking about like public posting? Are you talking about connecting with old friends? Are you talking about private messaging? Because there's research on all those things, and they're all different ways that we use social media.
Right. So, okay, so I'm thinking, okay, so I'm the student. Social media, I'm going to say that Instagram, no, because I'm cool. Snapchat is bad for romantic relationships. What do I do now?
Okay. What do you do?
I guess the next question is, what do you mean by bad?
Yeah.
Like, we like to stay away from qualifying, like...
Right, we don't want to say something's good or bad, or right or wrong, or...
Right. So I guess you could ask the kind of questions like,
what are the bad things you expect to happen, or you see happening, or you hypothesize might be happening?
So... you could even start the questions like, okay, so do you imagine that it's bad for like monogamous relationships, and in what way? Like, the longevity of relationships is. There's all sorts of questions you can ask.
Or do you think it's bad because do you think it has to do with like meeting? Like if you meet online, the relationship's less likely to
right, end up right. So these are all kind of questions that we want you to like contemplate, right? I mean, you could have gone anywhere with that question too, right? Like we could have started somewhere totally different and said that like we could have gone into social media and bullying, right? Like so the internet,
or social media and employers. Like, should employers look at your social media? Do they have access to your social media?
Yeah. So when we start,
should that influence hiring decisions?
Right, which is a kind of a hot topic right now, right?
It does. It does influence hiring decisions.
P.S. It does. So don't be dumb on your social media and learn about privacy settings if you don't already know about them. So what are some that was kind of an example. What are some strategies, like simple strategies that you think are smart ways to begin to narrow a topic?
Well, I think those journalist questions that we have the students answer: who, what, where, when, why, and how.
Right.
So if you say, I want to know how the internet affects people, well, who? What people? You can't write about all people. Are you talking about college students? You're talking about teenagers? You're talking about, middle-aged divorcees?
Right, like, who are we talking about? Because as you can imagine, I think this is another important thing, too. You need to, as the researcher, right, and that's who you are now, you need to put yourself kind of in the situation of being the researcher and imagining what other researchers would be interested in, right? And so think about a researcher who's researching social interaction on a social media platform is going to design a study in such a way that's going to uniquely pick a population.
You're going to look at someone very specific and something specific about
right, because the study would be completely random and kind of invalid if it's...
it'd be meaningless.
Meaningless if it's all over the place. Like, if it's not if it's a total cross sample of the population, right? Like,
Right.
you wouldn't be able to say
If you were looking at what, like, everybody
how do
posts.
people use social media? Well, how my mom uses Facebook is very different than how I use Facebook, right? So imagine the researcher is going to be specific. You need to be as well. I think that's a good way to think. Like,
that is a good way
who
of
is
thinking about it.
producing this, and like what in what?
How are they thinking?
Yeah. Okay, so those journalistic questions. So the who, right? Like what kind of population? I think a lot of times when I ask those questions, the when, I get I get now, which is great, right? Because so you're not interested in like pollution in the Industrial Revolution, which is good,
Right.
But you can't say now in the whole world either,
Right.
which is I get a lot.
Yeah, so place, the where is really important too, because,
Social media use in China
is quite different than social media use here.
Yeah, so I think students think that if we narrow too much, then it won't
happen.
It will not. I mean, I dare you.
Yeah, we dare you to come up with a specific enough topic.
Look at her. She's serious. She's like, I will pay you money.
No, look, I found a ton of stuff about someone's grandfather.
Yeah, I mean, we dare you to over-specify a topic. We promise you can't. But what we want you to get out of the habit of doing is taking a topic like the internet or pollution or something and thinking that that's a topic, right? I think your topic really isn't defined until you can write it as a sentence.
Right.
And that can be a question or it can be a statement, right? And I think sometimes a question is more likely than a statement, because you really probably don't know the answer.
Right, you probably don't have a position yet because you haven't done any research.
Right. So if you can write it as a question...
That's going to help you a lot because you have to... Well, you have to use words, right? You have to use lots of words.
Right, and if you only have one word...
It's not a sentence.
It's not a sentence.
Yeah.
One word a sentence does not make. And that becomes problematic when you try to go a hunting and you've got the internet. Two words.
Imagine what that search looks like.
Imagine what it looks like, right?
Not even internet.
Sometimes I get students get mad at me because I actually hand them a piece of paper and I'm like, write it.
Right. I do
and
too.
they look at me like, why? And then they can't. And I'm like, okay, this is an indicator that you do not have a refined topic.
Right.
Right? Like, you don't know what you want to write about yet.
And another sign, I think, of a good topic is it tends to be a little bit more complicated. They tend to be longer sentences.
Sometimes two sentences.
Yeah. So don't feel like you have to get your whole topic in 5 words. That's probably not going to happen.
Especially the more, good point. So the more advanced the questions, so probably your higher level classes, the more complicated the question, right? What you want to know. And so it's going to be impossible probably to put it in 6 words.
Right.
I told a student that yesterday. I was like, it can be 2 sentences.
Yeah.
It's totally fine.
Get it out there.
Real quickly, let's also talk, we talked a little bit about refining a topic, but let's talk kind of briefly, I know we have a couple minutes, about scope. We mentioned it
scope. Okay.
In the last...
Yeah, they really go hand in hand.
They really kind of go hand in hand. So what is scope when we talk about scope?
All right, so scope is really, we're looking at the telescope. We're looking at really the limitations of a topic. So how much do you see when you look at that topic? Is it impossibly large? If we just say internet, are we including everything from Al Gore to
from the beginning
right
to the end, right?
Or are we including data mining all the way to
the dark web, right? So I
Right.
think of pollution is an easy one, right? That because there's way different types of so there's noise pollution, light pollution, trash pollution, air pollution. I mean, are all the pollutions? Are you interested? So that's a really kind of example of the limits. So if we started looking for something like pollution, the scope of that is so huge,
right? It's impossible to manage.
It is impossible to manage. It's also impossible to give that topic any kind of real discussion in a 800-word essay.
Right. You can't shape it into an argument. You can't really discuss it thoroughly because you're discussing too many aspects of it.
Yeah, so when librarians or professors talk about scope, we're oftentimes saying, you're asking a question that is way, way too big for what you're trying to do.
Microscopes, not telescopes.
Right. That should be a t-shirt. Or at least a button. We want microscopes, not
make it happen.
telescope. We don't want the Hubble. We want the little, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's a good, that kind of goes with the idea of refining, right? Because,
Right.
like, often we'll say, like, well, that's a really interesting question, but do you have a lifetime to dedicate to
Right.
that question? Or are you writing a book on the topic? Right?
Or a set of
Race rela-
encyclopedias on the topic.
Right. So even something like a really defined topic, like, let me see if I can think of a really defined topic that is way too big in scope for kind of an normal undergraduate research paper. So, oh my god, now that I'm put on the spot, I'm like,
You
great.
put yourself on the spot.
I did. Okay, so a really interesting project, but could be probably 2 books, right? Women's interaction, oh, this is a terrible topic the way it's worded, but like, women's interactions with food rationing on the home front during World War II.
Okay, yeah, excellent topic. Very specific. No way you could handle it in
Huge!
800 words.
Right?
Yeah.
There's no way. I would say even 15 pages, right? So, cool topic. It's got a population. It's got a time. It's got a specific question that I want to answer, right? But it's still really, really big.
Right.
So, if I were you, I would tell you, like, okay, we need to narrow that even further, right? So, pick a really small population,
Particular location.
pick a location, some way to narrow the scope of that project even further.
Yeah.
It's kind of a rough example, but you had more than women World War II, right? But you still didn't have a manageable project.
And it can be tricky to figure out how to get a manageable topic. And it does take time.
Yeah.
And so
And also looking to see what's out there
right,
on
yeah,
the
you have
topic.
to sometimes you have to look around a little bit and to realize, first of all, there might be way more than you thought. Almost always will be.
Always.
And if you are not finding stuff, there's a chance that you're not.
So casting that really big net.
Yeah. And that's something we can help you with too. It's something we do all the time is we help students refine their topics.
Yeah, we help with people with scope all the time
Right.
too. So come talk to a librarian. We'll be like, that's a really interesting question. However,
Yeah.
let's get that into a project that you can actually manage.
Right.
Yeah. And we refine topics. Like I said, this is something we do 100 times a week, probably.
Yeah. All the time.
Like, and we ask the same questions for everybody. And it, like I said, when we started, it is not just a English 102 intro comp question. We ask it in
Of everybody.
of everybody.
Yeah.
Like, everyone always needs help refining a topic. Like, it doesn't matter what you're doing. So, refining a topic is super important. So, next week,
We are going to take one of the topics that we actually did not talk about.
ooh, okay.
So, well, we brought notes but didn't really use them. Surprise.
What happens?
All right, so we started with like the general topic, you know, how does the internet affect people? And then we asked like the hard questions like, what do you mean by affect? Who do you mean by people? The internet's big.
People with arms.
Duh.
Duh. People now.
And then we were able to progress those into, by asking questions, into much more specific topics. And I included like 3 different ones just to show like
Yeah.
how far, like
how it starts and then like kind of branches off into totally
and
different
so you
directions.
could have how does the internet affect people, and you could end up asking questions about employers hiring college graduates. You could ask questions about
I like this one. How does online anonymity exaggerate bullying behavior in high school students? So, specific population, specific activity, right? And so...
and a specific aspect of the internet.
Yeah. Right. And so we started with the interwebs, right, and got to that one. So we'll pick one of those questions from this week.
We didn't use that one.
Yeah, okay, we'll pick that one. And so what we'll do next week is we will take this topic and we will talk about the now process of how to use said question to
How to
find.
take these words and
Put them in the library machine.
Put them in the library machine.
And get stuff out.
So we'll go over to the library machine and crank it up.
We'll get that. We'll wake up that rat before, and so we'll talk about and then we'll do this to the exact topic, and we'll talk all about.
So we'll talk about keywords, generating search terms,
all that fun stuff.
All that fun stuff.
And that's what we'll do next week.
All right, and we are actually over.
Well, because refining a topic is so important.
Yeah, and it takes a long time.
Yeah.
Even if you plan ahead.
Yeah.
All right, so you're following us on Instagram. We're also on Facebook, and
My face.
We do not have a MySpace.
Oh, man.
And all of the previous episodes of Marx Library Live are available on YouTube.
Yeah, so if we mentioned one of the other earlier videos about, like, what is a good topic, what's a bad topic, that might be one to go back and watch, kind of in pairing, like a fine wine and cheese pairing for this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so go back and watch that one, too, because we talk about, like, not a good topic.
And it's just called Good Topic, Bad Topic, so it should be pretty easy to find.
Yeah, like good topic, bad topic. Okay, so we will see you guys next week, same time, same place, and we'll talk about taking a topic and making it happen.
All right, so we'll see you then.
Bye, guys!
Bye!